The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to the training. Billy, first check, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Excellent. So welcome here, everybody. We want to do an AMA training again today, and today we're working with lead management. Again, Billy will be leading us, and Billy is an expert in AMA and a lot of things with ACT, so we're very pleased about that. Before we get started with Billy's presentation, let me cover a couple points first, and those of you that attend these regularly will be familiar with these points. If you have any questions, please put them in the question panel. I will be monitoring them throughout, and Billy will be stopping a number of times throughout the presentation where we can answer those questions. Again, I just have to say this is for demo purposes. We do not do tech support during these calls. Some of you are always tempted to put tech support questions in. Please email service@keystroke.ca if you have tech support questions. And with that, we will also be posting the videos afterwards. So if you go to keystroke.ca, if you look on the right-hand side, if you scroll, it goes keystroke.ca, scroll right to the bottom. On the right-hand side, you'll see training. Go to Keystroke training videos, and then the Keystroke success training videos, and there you will see them listed. Example, last week's is up there. We usually have them up within 24 hours. The other thing we just added, Billy just mentioned to me, we now have controls are now active in the video, so you can stop, rewind, fast forward, that type of thing. So that's much better for your watching convenience. So please feel free to go there and watch all of our videos. There's a lot of them there. Where we have free training videos, if you see on the right-hand side where I have training, those are with those are ACT training videos, and the Keystroke ones are right below them. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to Billy. I will change presenter. And Billy, it's all yours.
All right. You're able to see my AMA screen currently?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So last week we spoke about at length about campaign building. There were a couple of things that have come up in the past week that we missed. So I'm going to try to incorporate those into what we're doing today. But last week I told you that we would come back to this campaign and we would see what would happen from the responses to the emails that I sent out. Now, I sent all these emails out to me, so I know what the responses are, but I also want to show you that even me as an expert, I can sometimes foul something up. In this case, from the last email, I put an entire day's wait before it did any action with the data from this decision. And that actually just hit the last of the accounts today. So I can hopefully, I haven't even looked to see if the actions have properly happened. But if I come down here to the end step on any of these and I look at the subscribers, I'm going to see that there are people who did make it into this this leg of the journey, which means the action did complete. Now, as a reminder, those actions put people into one of two groups. In the AMA outbound prospects, which was clicked, so these are all the people that I clicked with, and unengaged, these are the people I did nothing with. So in these cases, they may have opened the email, but they certainly didn't click on anything in there. We're going to get into this a little bit more today because today's focus is entirely on what happens with an inbound customer flow. This will be where your employees are putting in information. This is going to be another system or two that we're going to show you how to gather that information and ways to pull all of that into your system, and then to try to score them based off of what sort of interactions they have, not only with your emails, but with some of our landing pages, which is going to be a bit of a focus here. But before we get to landing pages, I kind of want to do some setup. The hardest part about getting one of these campaigns set up is always understanding, what your end goal is and what steps you're going to take to get to that end goal. And so here's what I'm going to do. I've made a group called New Customers. This group is going to be specific to this training. I've made it a dynamic group like I did last week. And all I'm going to do is any new contacts get created in my database within the last 7 days are going to be in this group. That's it. Right now, I don't have anybody that I've added over the last 7 days, so this group is currently empty. Later in this session, I'm going to give you guys the option to go to a website, fill out some information, and you're going to pop up here in this group, hopefully immediately after you type that in. Well, like I said, it's a live demo. Sometimes things go wrong, so let's see what we can do. So that's the first part. Now, the next part is I want to create a campaign that's going to do something with everybody that gets filled in here. So we're going to do that first. Now, I know we've already been through a good amount of campaign building, so I'm not going to go crazy on a huge campaign like we did last time. We're going to make a simple one email campaign. We're going to call this one the April, I know how to type today, April 16 demo. Oh, and I like to put my name on things. So April 16 demo, and I'll put my name there so that everybody else in my organization knows what's up. And then under my groups, I'm going to select my new customers group that I was just speaking about. And my from email address is actually going to be, has to be my email address. So I'm going to create that. And then just like last week, I'm going to import that same demo template we had set up 2 weeks ago in Ken's webinar on creating an email. So we're going to go import my templates and April demo. And this should look pretty familiar. All right. Now, last week, actually 2 weeks ago when we made these, we kind of glossed over this. And then one of my fellow employees asked me if this was anywhere in a video yet, and I didn't have a good answer for him. The answer was no. So we're going to add a merge tag into this one. So thank you so much for filling out my form. And then I'm going to add a merge tag, and we're just going to grab the full name. Let's do that. Your email address is, and even though I know we're sending it to an email address, we're just going to go just to say we did merge fields. I just want to show you, you can just find the email address and tag that in there. So I'm not sure how easy it is to see this, but contact.fullname, it means it is pulling a contact field, in this case, full name, and contact.email address means it's pulling a contact field, email address. That's how they decided to make sure that they were properly separating the different types of merge fields for future editions. So we're just going to save this, and this is going to be the entirety of this campaign. That's all. It's just going to send one email. I do, of course, need to set it up. So this is going to be a response, and thank you. There we go. So all I've done is no different than what we've done the past 2 weeks. I just want to make sure that you see me doing it so you understand what's going on. Now, this is currently in a draft form, and that's okay, but we're going to, for the process of wondering how an inbound customer flow goes, there's a couple of extra things that we want to consider. Some people get new customers when they walk through the door, or in case of the world today, when they call, when they email. These could be brand new people who you did not have a relationship with, that know about your company or heard about it through word of mouth and want to become one of your potential clients. They just might want more information. As an employee, I may be adding these people directly into the database. So we're going to add Vic here. And I'm gonna go ahead. It's you're what? No, I'm backwards here. You're just Vic at kqc.ca, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that's it. We're gonna add this. We've got his full name. We've got his email. Those are the two things that I've put into the merge fields. I could fill out the rest of this information, of course, and you should, because the more data you put into ACT, the better responses you can pull out of it later. But I'm gonna be very general. If I come over to my groups, you'll see that Vic has just been added in here into the group. So I like picking on him. And that means that he should be available for this, this email as soon as I activate this campaign. And that's fine for today, but what happens if I add someone tomorrow? How do they get into this group? I've already started this campaign, so how am I gonna get them added in? And you have a couple of options. We're gonna do both of the main options for this one, and then I'm gonna show you in a third way that we can also do this. So there is a thing called list sync. For those of you who are on the lower levels of AMA, you're not going to have access to this. So if you're on select/professional, I strongly suggest, again, at least jump up one level to Premier, That way you do have access to this. This is a very cool feature called Campaign List Sync. And what Campaign List Sync does is it allows you to turn on a time of day or every hour if you want to synchronize everybody that's in the rules for the properties of this campaign. So if I go ahead and turn this on, every hour it's going to check these properties and it's going to say, oh, we're sending everything to this new customers group. Let's see if there was anybody added into new customers, and it's going to fire off an email. Now, once I've activated the campaign, I will also have the ability of forcing a synchronization using manual list sync, and this is available, I believe, to the professional level unless that's changed. So you can still do it. You just have to force it. Alternatively, you can always pause and unpause a campaign, and that should start it back over. Naturally, campaign list sync is great, but if you have a campaign that's not set to instant release, if it's set to release on a very specific time or day, then if that time and day has already passed, nobody's going to get queued into the first step of your campaign because it's already past time. So campaign list sync is an automatic check of that group, that dynamic group, or it can be a static group as well, because I know I didn't mention that last week, but you can also do static groups. And that will automatically synchronize that information over and start at the top of the workflow. So that's two very quick ways: manual list sync and campaign list sync to get everybody in. Have I lost anybody yet? Do we have any questions in chat right now, Vic?
No questions.
Okay. Now, this is great. This is a good way for us to respond back to anybody who was added in. If I activate this campaign, which I'm going to do right now, in a few minutes here, Vic is going to get that email. And I see no red X's down here. It's a very simple campaign, so it's easy to start up. And this campaign is now active. So Vic's going to start somewhere at the top of this and move through this response email and an end. Even though he hasn't filled anything out, he should receive an email that has both his first name and his email listed in there. But we'll look into that in a little bit.
Oh, should I open that email or just leave it for now?
You can open it if you want. It'll be totally fine. I don't have any rules into what happens to that email after you open it. And I don't have any rules in regards to any interaction you do. All I've done is sent the email, and that's the end of the campaign. I don't think he's been through it yet. No, he hasn't quite yet, but he'll get through that soon. And I'm going to show you how to see where people are in this case later on. So right now, if with campaign list sync on, in an hour, if I've added anybody else, it's going to send out an email. We're going to shortcut that later and do a manual list sync just to make sure that we get some responses and those emails go out before the end of the session. But let's go to the next part. So like I told you, this is new people that have called your organization or walked in the door or emailed you, or word of mouth style, or for the case of you, people who are running a brick and mortar store, if they walked by in a pre-COVID world, they'd walk in and maybe become one of your clients. Let's look at another method. So landing pages are a feature which were kind of available in previous versions of e-marketing. In Active Marketing, they were called surveys or web forms. In SwiftPage e-marketing, I don't even know if they had I think they only had surveys for the highest tier. But we are on Premier right now. I'm actually technically in an Ultimate account, but I'm going to show you how to make two different types of landing pages. And one of them is a little bit more technical than the other. So I'm going to try to not bore you with the technical details. And the best part is if you have a guy that makes your website, well, he'll have to understand those details, but you don't. And the other one is super simple, and I think is the most fun one, and I'm going to give you pros and cons for each. So let's start off with a standard landing page. And I say standard because this is one that you're going to host. I'll do same demo. Perfect. Now let me just go through each one of the options here. Smart tags are a thing where you can actually add tags to templates, campaigns, landing pages, and you can report on those later. The page type in this case, these are the two options that I was talking about. There's my website, which is CMS or WordPress or HTML. And there's page designer. The more technical of the two is my website, but the less technical and more familiar one is going to be the page designer. And I'm not going to go through that yet. I'm going to go through that after I go through the boring one. There's a redirect URL after you're done filling out this landing page. Where do they go? This is optional. You don't have to do anything on here. I like to put something in here. So we're going to put in keystroke.ca. We're going to have them straight over to our website. Notifications, here you can put one or multiple email addresses to get a notification when someone fills out one of these forms. Auto response campaign, and this is kind of an important one because we've just made a campaign for that. So if I type in my name, I'll see, oh, this is the April 9 one. I'm not sure why it's not showing the new one here. Did I not put my name on there? Looks like I did not. I will need to go back and double check that. So we'll come back here on this one. This section for allow duplicates. So this came up in a phone call with a client on Tuesday. People want to know, why would I ever allow duplicates in a database, especially if we're worried about bad data? So I feel it's important that you understand that AMA is designed to deduplicate only on an email address. That's it. So a lot of you who email corporations where it's like sales@mycompany.com, if you have multiple people at that company who manage to come to your website and they fill out information, you do kind of want to have their personal information, even if they're using the same email address. So you may have 10 people fill it out with the same email, but if it's a shared box, the way that's handled is when we send out an email, it deduplicates. So it only sends to the one, sales@mycompany.com. It doesn't send it 10 times. Secondarily, if we say do not allow duplicates, when Sarah fills out the form first, you're going to get all of Sarah's information. And when Eric fills out the form later, it's going to overwrite Sarah's information and you've lost Sarah as a contact. They're still using the same contact card in ACT, but this new form fill information has overwritten it. So especially if you're only using a few forms or a few fields on your form, and say like you're just doing first name and last name or full name, email address, and position, the rest of the information that was originally on that contact card is untouched. So if you've added anything for Sarah, Eric has put in his information, and so now you have this mismatch of data on the same contact card. My general rule of thumb is allow duplicates. Just do it. It means that, yes, you may have some duplicates. You may need to merge some contacts together, but at least this way, you're not overwriting any data that comes through a landing page. And then finally, you can assign a contact to either nobody specifically or a specific record manager in ACT. So let's go figure out why that response campaign isn't going here. Let's head out. And let's hit return. And I'm going to go back to campaigns. April 16 demo build. Oh, so this sometimes happens where I may have to restart ACT before we get to that point, but we shall see. I'm going to go back over to the landing page and we're going to continue forward. We're going to try to see if we can add it here at the end, but let's get into form creation because this is kind of the important part. You've seen this fluxogram before, right? We did this earlier when we were making campaigns, but there's a decided difference between this fluxogram and the other. So the type of landing page we selected was my website. So unlike other fluxograms, you're not going to be able to add additional steps to this. There's no decision steps, there's no actions, there's no additional pages, because all this is going to do is give you code to put on your website for your web guy to go in and put on your website. And it's very generic code, but it's going to show you it's just going to be the basic fields for you to put it in. So, and we make it basic so that if you do have any like custom CSS coding on your site to make it look and feel a certain way, that's still retained when you upload that to your site. So I want to show you a basic form. So for the purpose of organization, I always try to give everything a good page title and everything. So the page title in this case is going to be April 16, my website, Billy. That's all I'm going to put. Actually, I'm going to put AM April. And then the submit button text You can put whatever you want. You can put go or send. I usually keep it as submit. Some people put registers by default register here because they expect you to be registering people for contact to your site. From the actions menu in the top right corner, we can add controls, add templates, or copy another pre-existing form. I'm not going to do a copy today, but I am going to show you the different types of controls that can be added in my level of AMA. So single text box is exactly what you would expect. And actually, I'm going to pull up one of the basic forms that gets generated so you can just see. So these are two just basic text boxes. It's exactly what you would expect. It's a full name, email address, and a register button. And it's very, very bland on purpose. So that's a single text box. But there's a whole bunch of other options here. So we've got your checkboxes. You can put a list of checkboxes if you have multiple questions that you want to answer. Comment box is like a memo field. It's like a large field where you can put extra text. I don't believe there's a limitation on this size, but I haven't actually tried to put a long limit on here. We can probably add it here and check out. There's drop downs, hidden text fields. It's a type of text field on websites where some information can be passed over, especially if your web guy wants to pull information from a previous page. You can also put that in here, or you can use this because everything that we're going to do is going to map to a field in ACT. So you can add your own hidden text field here that has a specific value, and that'll get pushed into a field in ACT. An example of that is if this is a very specific form that you want to make sure, like it's a contact us form versus a guest book form. If you want to be able to say, hey, this is where it came from, specifically from this guest book, you can add a hidden text field. Labels are exactly what they sound like. It's the label that's above or next to one of these text boxes or one of these controls. And then we've already talked about single text box. I don't want to necessarily go through each one of these, but let's just power through the controls one by, well, I guess we should probably go through most of them, but basically a text box is a simple, this is or a checkbox. This is a checkbox. You can set up a default value, whether or not it's checked or not. It goes true or false. It also, all the controls allow you to do width and height. And then finally, there is a map to ACT field option. So you can map this to any yes or no field or any string field, and it's going to pass that over. I'm not going to keep this one, so I'm not going to map it. So there are going to be some that we're going to map in a little bit so you can see how those go in. Once you've created a control, you can hit the pencil to edit. You can hit the plus sign to insert a question after, or you can hit the little X to delete. If I do insert question after, it adds an additional control. So let's say we do drop down. Let me show you how the drop downs work. Same basic information. There's an additional thing that's here. So a checkbox is always either true or false, so it always has an answer technically, but this one does not. And so that has an option for you to require an answer for this question. If this is checked and someone doesn't fill it out, then the form doesn't submit. It'll pop up a warning depending on the browser you're in to say which fields need to be filled out. Again, you have width and height controls, and then there is the map to ACT field. But down here, we get to add additional records for dropdowns. So there's a display version of it, and then what the return value is, and then which order. It's a little basic. We're going to put two. The order is just a number. So if I put in pro and I put the order as number 1, this one will go in above it because the order is simply just a number. So you can always come in and edit these and change the order around as you need. But this specifically, any of the ones where you get to have multiple records, you do have the ability to import a list of choices. You shouldn't have too many choices, but in some cases people have 20, 30 choices and they have to keep making new landing pages. So exporting this out to a file is an option for you, and then you can just re-import it. It's just a simple file. It actually kind of gives you where it comes from. So like if you want to import a countries list, or we have some that are already in here.
Quick question, Billy.
Sure.
If I give the generated form code to my web person, are the forms mobile responsive?
That's an excellent question, and that's actually not something that I can answer. That's something that only you can answer. And I'll show you the generated source code later on here. But all we're giving you is the most basic of form components. So it's text, it's a single text box, a combo box, checkbox. These are standard HTML elements. And then we're giving you the source code on how to put it on your site. If your site is responsive to that, yes. If your site is not responsive, well then no, because you control everything that happens to this form. From a code base on this one, let's see, if I just go ahead and inspect this form, these are just very basic input types is all they are. And then your web guy would add in any classes in here, and then that would modify how it appears. So if you add a class in here and that class exists in your CSS code, it would modify as is. For instance, if you're using like WordPress already has its own CSS for these types of things, and then it would automatically change a lot of these without you having to do any additional work. If I'm running my own website and say I'm using my own thing like Bootstrap, I could add the classes in appropriate for Bootstrap as long as the individual parts of the form element that are tracked are still there. This form posts back to an AMA held site, and so each one of these input IDs needs to be retained. And we'll kind of help gear you guys towards making sure that your web guy knows this. I'm pretty sure if you tell them that this is, you just need to post the form somewhere else and here's the code for it, they can work with it. But that is an excellent question. It is responsive if you wish it to be.
Thank you.
Yep. We're going to go back. I'm going to add in, so here's our Premium and Pro Dropbox, just like it is. We're going to add another one here. And we're going to remove all of these, and I'm going to show you a couple of extra things. So checkboxes and checkbox lists. I know we did a checkbox earlier. Checkbox list is the same thing. You just get to add more than one. So we'll do at 111. We add 2, 2, and then 2. So here, and this is it's gonna be one block of checkboxes like this that go horizontally. I think you can actually modify them to go vertically as well. Let's see. Yeah, horizontal or vertical, and again, you can map the answers to individual fields. So yeah, now they're horizontal. So whenever I go through this form, I can check all these boxes and submit. Let me show you real quick. Now, later on, we're going to be able to preview these landing pages before we submit them. But right now, because we're using my website, there's no preview option. So what I can do, though, is under this Actions menu, I'll see where it says Generate HTML Script. And this is what you give your web guy. So without getting too technical on you here, pretty much there's a form. It posts back to a Swift page site. There's input types, and these input types have specific names and specific values. And those names and values are what the Swift page site is waiting on. They are very specific types of, they're GUIDs that have a preface to them. And each one of those tells the Act Marketing Automation servers which form and which input is being filled out. And then from here, it will take them, any answers, into the automation engine and post them as per the properties that we have set up for this page. I just hit you with a lot. We're going to go into a much easier form of this later, but I want to talk about real quick about the pros on this. The pro is you host this form. Your website hosts this form. Your customers do not see a difference in this form. It stays on your website. It looks just like any other form that you've filled out, and you can redirect them anywhere you want, just like you would have if you had made your own custom form there. The con to this, you host this. So if something goes wrong on it, you have to fix it. It's entirely self-serve in that case. Your web guy, if he doesn't know how to fill out a form, for instance, if he doesn't know how to make a form, it's not going to post properly. And if it doesn't post properly, well, it's just not gonna work. Let's see if, hey, look, the 16 demo now shows. So right now with this auto response, it's an auto response campaign. If I were to fill out this form, at the end of the form, it would take all of the data that I have here and it would post it to that campaign. But there's a little bit of a hitch there, but I'm going to talk to you right now. There's an additional thing that you'll want to do is add into actions, right? If you weren't using a dynamic group like what I have, you may want to have them add directly to a specific group. I don't have to do this in this case because everybody that's added into this form is going to go into ACT, and therefore they're going to be a new customer within the last 7 days, and that's going to hit the automatic sync that I've got set up on that campaign. I'm going to take this chance before we go to the easier form to ask if there's any questions in chat.
I have one here. And this goes back a little bit. For the new contact assignment, is there any logic available to select the employee based on criteria such as state or time zone?
For selecting whether or not the contact enters into the groups, yes. Dynamic group membership or even static group membership is, you're adding them yourself, but the dynamic group membership can be as simple or as complex as you wish. And this is the way I'm doing it today for this purpose is how I've decided to do the inflow. So I've only got where the contact is created with the last 7 days. You can add any field that's in your ACT database, and you can put specific operators for that field. So if there's a specific state that you want to do where it's equal to, say, like AZ here, because I'm in Arizona, this would remove Vic from the group, which is probably what my intent is, especially if I'm only trying to target people in Arizona. But yes, you can definitely do that. Does that satisfy that question, you think?
I think so, unless you have more to ask on that, John, give me more details. But yes, thank you, Billy.
Yep. All right. So now if anybody fills out that form, they get added to that group. And this campaign is, sorry, this is the campaign, this is the landing page. This campaign here, the April 16 demo, is set to every hour capture anybody that's in that group. And if they're new to that group, it tosses it to the top of the list. So we've created a very simple inflow of people who go to my website using the code that is supplied from the landing page. They fill out that form, and then they get added into my ACT database. But man, that's a lot of work, especially what if I don't have a web guy? How do I go to the next stage there? I want to show you a little bit more of a fun way of doing this. And we're going to do this using something we've already talked about, which is email templates. I'm going to make a brand new template, but in the designer, instead of doing marketing, I'm going to select landing page. So the reason we're doing this is mainly is because it's a familiar thing that you're with, and the landing page portion of this allows you to import templates that already exist and kind of use it as a skin for how this form is going to work. So previously, when you were the other landing page where you're hosting that on your website's the skin. But in this case, we're going to host this for you, and well, AMA is going to host this for you, I should say, and you don't have to worry about any of the additional code that's involved with it. So we are going to also do something we did last week, which is where I import that template that Ken made on the first week of training. So I'm going to go import my templates. For the template name, I'm going to do April demo, and you'll notice that it only allows me to select drag and drop. I can't go to the WYSIWYG templates, and the reason for that is because all of the skins are the drag and drop section only. There's no custom form. If you want that, you'll use the other type of landing page and host this on your website. So I'm going to import this template. All right, and here's a familiar template right here. So much like earlier, we added merge tags for the first name and the last name. What we're going to do is we're going to change this around completely. We're going to get rid of this section. We're going to get rid of this button because my form is already going to have buttons. We're going to get rid of this. Actually, yeah, you know what? Let's just go ahead and let's just tear this template down a little bit. Sorry, Ken. And remember, I know I mentioned this last week, but I haven't mentioned it so far this week. This is an instantiated template, which means that every change that I'm making here is not changing the main template. It's only changing the template here for this landing page. I was going to say campaign, but this is specifically a landing page. So we're going to start off with the same header image. We're going to keep that same video listed there. We're going to drag in some text here. And the best part of this text is we're only going to put in one thing here. And when you're in a landing page, when you're editing templates, this merge tags button that I'm going to click is totally and completely different than what you would expect. Instead of showing all of your fields, it shows one. It's not even your field. It just says form. So let's get rid of the rest of that block. And that is the entirety of our landing page template. Anything we put here is going to show on either side of this word form. And this form section is going to be replaced with whatever controls we put in the form. So we're going to save that. I'm going to show you this form here in a second. There is an additional step that you have to do to see this in landing pages, which I always forget, and you're probably going to forget at least once. So just remember, if you can't see it, you got to publish it. So under the actions menu in the top right, just hit publish. It'll double check, say, hey, do you want to publish this? Like, yes. And that's it. So now if I come back here and I make edits to this later and people are using my form, they're going to see the old version of the form until I publish the new version. So you can actually update your forms, like their look and feel, without re-editing the entire form. You just come back in here and republish the template. So let's return out. And we've created a part of the landing page, which is the look and feel of it. And now we're going to create the actual controls in the form. And I'm going to show you a couple templates in this process. So just like last time, we're going to go new page. We're going to call this the AM April 16 demo, and then skinned. And then I'll put my name on there too, just because I like to do that. And then so previously we did my website. Now we're going to do page designer. And now that changes things around. Instead of having a redirect URL, it's going to say default skin. And if I click in here, I should see AM April 16 demo. Now I've actually made a couple of these, so I'm hoping that the right one comes up this time, because I know previously we didn't even see the campaign until later on. But we're gonna hope everything works out. And then, so again, the April 9 demo is the only one showing up here, and I bet that's because I've got it tied to that other campaign. So we'll have to come back and check out this one. Again, I'm going to allow duplicates. I'm going to keep that going, and I'm going to assign all contacts to me. So this is the same familiar territory we're in. The only difference is we selected page designer, and we selected the skin that we just published. And here we go. So two differences, or one difference that's already on this screen. That's down here at the bottom, there is a link. And that's because, again, like I stated, we host this form for you. So there's automatically going to be a link there. I'm going to change this link later, which is because this is really confusing. And if you want to remember it, I mean, good luck. If you can do that, that's great. But I wouldn't want to. And the second thing is, previously our Fluxogram only gave us one option to edit the form, but I have additional options now. So we're gonna get into that next. I just want to get into editing this form and kind of show you how things are going to look. So just like previously, this looks the same. And then I'm going to leave it as so I'm going to actually make it a submit button again. And then we're going to import a template for this part of the landing page. And then I'm going to show you how to make a second page. So under the actions menu, there's an add template. Previously, we did a bunch of add controls. We're going to do add template. And the add template gives us two specific choices. The first one is a simple contact us, which is the one we're going to select. But the second one is GDPR. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the General Data Protection Regulation. That is an EU regulation, which is very specific. GDPR is it's a pretty good idea all around. AMA wants you to have explicit permission to send to your customers from your company. And GDPR is designed to require you to kind of explain what your company is and why you want to contact them. And they have to check that they do agree to receive that information. So if you're not familiar with GDPR or you are going to be doing a lot of business in the EU, I would strongly suggest that you read up on it. We are going to go over a little bit of that in the April 30th, I think it's the 30th training where we talk about deliverability. I do want to talk a little bit about GDPR and CAN spam. But for now, let's get back on topic. We're going to import a contact us template. And this is going to add 4 fields for us. It's going to add full name, email address, company name, and phone number. Now, email address automatically has this little dot next to it. And again, it talks about obtaining explicit permission. We'll go over this again on April 30th, but clicking this link will pull up another window, which is on the specifically designed for AMA, talking about everything regarding getting permission to contact someone via email. Let's edit one of these real quick. I want to show you the full name. You'll see it's already mapped to full name in my ACT database. So if someone fills this out, and it is required, it's going to add that person into the database and map it to this full name string. So that's good. Same for email address. If we edit that, we're going to see that it's mapped to email address. No surprise, company name is mapped to company, and phone number is going to be mapped to phone. So we've just created a very simple templated-based form, and we're going to head back out to our little fluxogram. And if I click this link, I'm going to see this is the template we made earlier. This is where we stripped it down. It says time for great email design. We put form inside the text box immediately after. And it's taken that merge field and it's inserted the form exactly as is. And then it continues the rest of the template. So if I fill this out, this is going to appear in my mailbox, or it's going to appear in my ACT database. And then that's going to trigger the group. And then when the next time the campaign syncs, it's going to add me to this campaign list. But this URL is really long. So we're going to head in and we're going to try to see if we can change, because previously you could change the URL on this. Let's see if we still can. Hey, look at that. Change URL. So I'm going to change this one to AM April because I like my pun. And then we'll call it underscore, actually we'll do dash 3 because this is the 3rd session. And let's see if, yep. It gave us that one. If it was already taken up, it wouldn't let us, it would tell us, hey, that one's not available. Like if you already had one that had that name, for instance. But here we go, pages.swiftpage.marketing slash, I believe, slash L, it's a lowercase L, and then AM April -3. And if you want, right, I mean, I wouldn't do it quite yet because we're not done, but you can go to the site, and I'm going to actually ask some of you guys to go to the site soon and fill out this information once we've published this and made this forward. At the bottom, you'll see that the URL has updated, but we're gonna add some more stuff on here. We're gonna add.
Quick question: can you use the same URL for different landing pages?
No, you cannot. It will tell you that it already exists. You would have to delete that previous landing page or change the URL off of it before you could reuse it again. Okay. The reason for that is it wouldn't know which way to go if you did that.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So we're going to insert one action after, and so just like on that. When we were creating campaigns, you can do the decision steps here too. And the decision step is going to be based off of what happened in the previous question, right? So let's say if I do a select column where the email address, and then you get all of these different options here. If I want to do it where the email address starts with a very specific name, like Vic, what I could do is like set up separate actions in those cases. So I'm not going to keep it this way because I don't necessarily have a decision step that I want to put in here. And there are some cases where we're like, if you have a multi-select dropdown or like one of those dropdown boxes previously, where you could give them 1 or 2 choices, or if they have a checkbox for, you know, do you want to be contacted for this or that? You can send them down 2 different paths. And I know that earlier when we were making the properties, we specifically stated which campaign I wanted to go to at the end. But this can be used to add additional actions, like putting them in a specific group. or actually, let's go ahead and do that. So let's change the action type. Actually, so, I apologize. I'm totally wrong. The end actions is where that's going to be. So if I edit the end actions here, I can say that I want to add these to a group, and I'll select a new group. And we're going to put we'll put Vic into unengaged. If anybody starts off an email on this form and it starts off with the letters VIC, they will go into this unengaged group. And if I go to no and I edit end actions, I don't actually have to do anything in here. But I could add them to a group. I could add them to a different drip marketing campaign. I can create a new activity like a call for them, for instance, or even create a sales opportunity. I can remove them from specific campaigns, which is kind of important. If you had some people on a campaign and you felt like they weren't being engaged and you send out a new landing page where they can fill out information, and let's say they do, you may want to remove them from a campaign where you're trying to get them to respond to you. And this will automatically do that if they fill out the form. It just takes them right out of the campaign. So next time they get queued into a step, it's going to put that person into a status of stop, and they won't receive any more emails from you on that campaign. So I'll probably put together a video specific to this from removing people from drips and why we want to do that. Especially, I'll try to get something done, or at least bring this back up during the April 30th deliverability portion, because part of this is going to be, hey, do you want to stop receiving emails from us? And if so, then this is another reason to remove them from a drip marketing campaign. And then if you do it this way, you're also not worrying about unsubscribes or complaints. You're specifically asking them after the fact, like, hey, do you want to stop? And they can still receive emails from you in the future without you having to do any strange resubscription process. For now, I'm not going to do any actions on this side, but anybody who fills out this form, there's going to be a decision, and then at the very end, it's going to either, in the case of anybody that starts with Vic, it's going to add them to the unengaged group, or if not, it's just going to do nothing, and we're going to go about our day. Do I have any additional questions about this so far?
No, none so far. You must be pretty clear, Billy.
All right. So right now, if you guys go to this URL, which is the https://pages.swiftpage.marketing/L/April13, and I'm gonna can we put this into chat? Yeah, it looks like we can. Vic, are you able to put this URL into chat for everyone to see by chance?
I can put it in the questions and send to all. So let me see if I can copy that out. I can't copy from yours. Let me just try retyping it.
Well, you can feel free to click the link and then copy it from the URL that comes up in your browser too.
I can't click it on yours, so I don't have mouse control on yours.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha.
You want to Slack me that, Billy, quickly?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be perfect. Sorry to put you on the spot here, Vic.
Oh, no problem. I don't mind.
Okay, so let's copy there, paste there. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So, and you also notice that while he's doing that, at the top it's going to say draft. All of these types of landing pages are considered drafts. There's no activate. I mean, I think I can change the status on it, but even in a draft mode, it works perfectly fine. Yeah, so if I go to change status, it comes right back here to the main page. So that's probably something I need to get back with them to see if they need to remove that or not. And then at any point under the actions menu, you can go and look at the results of anybody that's filled out this form and see a couple people have already filled that out. Thank you so much, guys, for doing that. And then once they fill them out, so there's a bit of a line that's towed here in regards to how quickly you're supposed to get responses to form fills. And These may already exist in mine because I have a very small database, and I have set mine up to be highly available so that everything goes through. But just like with emails that go out, the company line is 24 hours. That was the one that we used to tow back in the day. 24 hours is the maximum expected time for something to appear in your database. If it doesn't, we usually like to put in a ticket. Let's go to our groups. Hey, look, we already got some new people popping up in the groups. So in this case, people are going to start receiving these emails as they come in, but only when that original campaign syncs. And right now, this campaign is set to sync every hour. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. I just want you guys to fill out the form, anybody that's willing to, and then I'm going to show you how to synchronize this data. I'm not going to keep any of these email addresses for anything except for this demo. These aren't going to go anywhere. I may end up hitting you up with an email later in the sessions if you're available and on session. I'll try not to do it if you're not here. But the entirety of this is going to get fed into this one simple campaign, and then everybody should receive an email that has your first name and the email address listed in there. You'll see if I go to the email, though, you see nothing is sent. Again, we still got to sync the campaign. So give it a quick minute here. See if anybody else starts to come through. Oh, look at all this. You guys are great. Donald Trump even made it here. That's fantastic. Let's head over to this campaign. Let's do a sync. Now, yes, this will sync in an hour, but I can short circuit that a little bit. I can go ahead and hit manual list sync, and that's going to go through. There is another way of adding people to this campaign, but if you do that, I'm going to show you the shortcoming that I was talking about earlier. There's a little bit of a pitfall that happens. If I add someone to this drip marketing campaign, right, but I don't add them to the group that this campaign is pulling from, next time campaign list sync automatically hits, it's going to say, who's this guy? He's not in the group, and it's going to remove him from the campaign. So if this was a long campaign, then he just got kicked out one email in, and he's like, oh man, I can't wait for my next email, and an email that will never come. So that's why I specifically tell them to add to groups or to pull from a group, because not only do I get to see that, actually I get to make sure someone goes through the whole campaign, but if someone's added to a drip marketing campaign that isn't associated with something that is syncing from Act, the only way I'm going to know that someone is in this is I have to come in here and I have to find him by email address and see if he's even in this campaign. Or I have to go through every stage of this campaign, and I have to go to, well, it won't be at the start, but every additional stage of this campaign, and go to manage subscribers, and then look down this possible list of thousands, which it only shows the top 1,000, to see if he's in there. So I always say, if you have a landing page or if you have an inbound customer flow, make sure it's something that you can see. And what's the easiest way to see you? Come over here to your group, and there it is, right? So you can see everybody that's in here. You know they should be in this campaign. You've done your proper organization. Let's go ahead and short circuit this now. So under the actions menu, you'll find manual list sync. And it's going to say, hey, we're going to compare this on the include list. We're going to compare this to everybody that's in your campaign, and we're going to hit sync. And we're done. Now, if I hadn't pushed manual list sync, what'll happen is about 15 minutes after the hour, my campaign was going to auto sync, and it's going to send. In fact, if any of you guys are watching this webinar later, you can go to that. You can fill out that same form that we just set up, and it's still going to push you into my campaign, and you're going to receive this email. Part of our April 30th demo is going to be deliverability. You're going to find that every email that I send out is probably going to your junk folder. This is kind of in preparation for that. So if you don't see my email, check the junk mail folder. I got one more last thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to try to make this one a little quicker than what we've already done, just so we can end it out. And if we have a need to, I'll make sure I bring it up in a later session. I still want to get a minute or two for additional questions. Any action that you do in AMA is recorded, of course. If you fill out a form, we know it. If you go to one of our links, we know it. I mean, we've shown that repeatedly. But I want to show you a little bit about scoring. So directly under the admin section, there's already a couple scoring profiles here. We have one by default. I'm going to make a brand new profile. We're going to call it the AM April profile, and I always put my name on it. And what I get to do here is I get to select specific things and assign a score to them based off of how many times they do it, or if they've done it at all. In this case, since we have landing pages that we've just completed, I'm going to select this one. But you can do emails clicked, emails opened, events attended or registered, which we will hit in the future. Of course, landing pages, and then websites visiting, which I did kind of want to get into today, but it looks like I'm going to have to push off to another one as I don't want to go too far over time. For landing page completed, I will give them a score. Let's give them a score 5 because I like a higher number than 1. And then I get to select how many days back will it score. I just leave it at 30. And then I'm going to put accumulated score. So that way, if someone fills out the form multiple times, I know that they're just filling out my form multiple times because they have a huge score. And then for the landing page, I get to select the exact landing page that we did.
And the question is, can I put a landing page link in an email campaign, such as click here to be contacted?
Most definitely.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's the best way to get your landing page out in front of them, especially if we host it, because it's not on your website, but you can also link to it from your website. If I let me go ahead and save this rule. I just want to view the scores. I want to see if they've already shown it, or if I need to rescore. It does not show. So if I go to rescore, it's going to rescore it. It's going to send an email to, it's supposed to go to me. It's probably going to go to James. But what happens here, usually within the next few minutes, the reason why this is it's considered a job is because these scoring lists can be really high. Because as you know, some of our clients, they've got 150,000 people in their database. So these scores can sometimes take a little bit of time to score back up. But I don't have much, so I'm wondering if it's already done. Look at that. So I see we already had somebody who filled out this form 3 times. Thank you very much for getting all this data in. So we've attached scores to things. This is not the same as, but can be equated to the call list feature that you found in AEM, except for you get to control what you consider a high priority item. I will put more information together on this. A lot of this is already handled or talked about lightly on, I know some of the SwiftPage free training videos I believe have it, but if not, if you guys need, I will try to put together a video specific to that. And the last thing about scoring is those scores, if I were to have, if I wanted to, I can map that to a very specific field. Like if I map all this to user 1, next time I rescore, it'll push that score per person, per contact into my ACT database. So we're about 3 minutes left in this session. I know I've probably talked your ear off already, but if you guys have any additional questions, I want to open up the floor now.
No more questions?
All right. Well, I'm going to do one more manual list sync to try to force people through. And I want to kind of see real fast where people are.
Oh, wait, there's one more question. If I do a multiple checkbox setup, how do you map that?
So the way the responses are mapped are based off of what they check. So that's a good question. I need to actually look into it a little bit more because a checkbox is usually a yes or no. And I believe, let's actually go over to a landing page. And let's go to the unskinned one and let's add in, edit this form. We'll add a control. And this was for multiple checkbox or checkbox list in this case. So, and the reason I really want to look into this is because previously a checkbox is it's either true or false. That's it. That's the only response you get from a checkbox. But in this case, you see how it says return value. We're actually assigning a return value for this of true or false, whether or not it is. So let's call this, did we already do this one? Did we keep that one or did I remove it? Okay, I do have 1 and 2. That's a really good question. I don't have the direct answer to that, but I believe that because we've assigned values to 1 or 2, it will actually give us both. It'll give us 1 and 2 as both of them. But I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't have an answer on how that maps back into ACT. If that does both of them side by side, or much like a multi-select checkbox, or if one of them overwrites the other. So that's a homework lesson for me to go through.
Okay.
I haven't had anybody ask that.
Tom, if you want to email me that question as well, then I'll have it there and we'll get your response for that.
All right, we got anything else?
Kevin just posted radio buttons question mark. I'm not sure what that question is, but
probably what is a radio button? And that's a very simple one. So the actually, do they have the radio? Oh, I think we've removed them at this point. There was a specific issue with radio buttons not properly pushing information back. So I know they were talking about removing those at one point. Let's see. We got checkbox, comment box, drop down, hidden, label, and single text box. Yeah, I don't see any radio buttons on this one at all. Let's check if it's on the skinned ones that we control. And then we will probably call that a stream.
And then I have one more question after that.
Okay. Probably went too fast for it. Yeah, okay, so they do have radio button lists in the ones that we control. And same way as previously, you're going to add a record, what the return value is, and then whatever order it's in. And then since this is a radio button section, option 2, I can spell option 2, and then I go 2. What that'll do is it's going to return whatever return value is, and it's going to map that back into the field that you select. So if I put this one to user 2, wait, it's under custom fields, user 2. Since it's a radio button, it only allows you to select one or the other because it's all radio button groups. So if I select option 1, it's going to return whatever return value I said. If I select option 2, it's going to return that option instead. And so that one can be mapped to a field, but apparently that is not available in the unskinned versions of them.
Okay, the last question. In email stats, does deliver equals view in the contacts campaign results?
Does delivers equal view? No. On the campaigns, and we will go over this in the April 30th deliverability demo, the delivered is literally where the email server has responded that that's a delivered email. Again, 24 hours before you're going to see anything come through on this, though, for the most part. But the delivered is simply how many arrived successfully at the recipient's server. Views are going to be opens, so which are going to be down here, total opens. That's how many times everybody's viewed it. If they forwarded off and 100 people view it, that's going to get bloated. Unique views mean of the number of members in the campaign, which, how many of them opened it.
Excellent. Anything else, Billy, or should I wrap it up here?
Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're just a little bit over the hour. I still have some stuff I'm probably going to present in a future demo.
Okay, why don't I'll switch it to my screen.
Sure. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, Billy. Now, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. I'll just close questions. So a couple of you asked about some of our other services. We also offer web services. If you go to our keystroke.ca, we do everything from domain registration, hosting, design, SEO, search engine optimization, search engine marketing services, copywriting, email setup. So we do all those. We have a team of Carlos is leading it with Iona, Fajar. Billy is part of the AMA team as well as Dana. So we have a large team to look after your web services as well as your ACT AMA marketing. So on the AMA side, we can build template designs, campaigns, consulting, and Billy is the lead consultant on that. So we encourage you to check it out. Go to our website. And also a reminder that the training will be at the bottom of this page on the right-hand side. So if you do have any questions, feel free to email myself, Vic at kqc.ca, whether you're interested in any of the web services, AMA, or if you have specific questions from this training that you forgot to ask or you thought about later, please contact me. So thank you very much, and thank you, Billy. Great webinar, and we will talk to everyone next week at next week's webinar. Thank you very much. Have a great day.